Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the two-man game. As always, we're running it together. It's me, one of your co-hosts, Cone, and we got Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. We get to rate the best center in the NBA today, so I think
We
that's
do.
pretty cool. Whoever you think it is, it won't matter because they're going to both be in the same tier, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
I'm
Ryan is
feeling,
very unbiased when it comes to the best center in the
yeah,
NBA.
very unbiased. Clearly,
Yeah, I realize now how much you decked out for this tier list in particular.
I know. I was thinking about putting an Embiid shirt on that says what does it say? Oh, they hate the process. I thought about putting that on, but I figured I'd spare the viewers just a little bit. But yeah, man, I'm excited to talk some hoops. I think we skipped a week because Connor was in town and we just decided to hang out really instead of working. So yeah, here you are. This will be about 2 weeks from the last one. So we're here to rate centers, and this is gonna be a fun one, man. There's a lot of centers, a lot of
We have a
people,
lot.
a lot of really good players, a lot of players that used to be good and are kind of trash now. So this should be a good one. But just like we kind of said with all the other positional tier lists, just remember we're rating centers compared to each other. Just because we put someone in the B tier or C tier doesn't mean they're just as good as another player we put in a B or C tier in another video. It just is all relative to one another. And centers is kind of stacked. I think Connor agrees with me on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent at the center position. It's also a wide spread of talent. Like, I think we don't typically put many people in F. I think we'll have a few here and there. I think each of the tiers will be used, which is going to be needed because there's a wide variety of guys on this list. But yeah, like Ryan said, it's all relative. Also, we'd love to hear what your ranking is. What do you like? What do you hate? Let us know down below in the comments. If there's someone that isn't on here that you think should be on here, they might have been on the power forward tier list. But I think I got pretty much every notable name that typically plays center. Some guys you might think, oh, they didn't play center last season or really like that. Also, no rookies on here. Like Brandon Clark is the only guy for the Grizzlies because Zach Edey is seemingly going to start the center spot, or at least that's what everyone thinks. And we're not going to rank a rookie because we've never seen them play in the NBA. So those are, I think, all of the usual things we need to get out of the way before we get into this. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you're over here on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, rate 5 stars, download, things like that. I think what we're going to do is I'm trying to figure out how to plan this going forward because we want to do our season predictions. I'm tempted to do, I'm trying to figure out if we should do like an Eastern Conference preview and a Western Conference preview and just go through the standings of both and then do our award predictions, which can include our NBA Finals pick in that as well. So maybe we'll do that to kind of give us 3 weeks of content because we only have, what is it? It's a week from today is the 29th and the 6th, the 13th and the 20th. So only 4 weekends left before the start of the NBA season. So maybe we'll do that. We'll have maybe one of those weekends will be something different, but we'll do like an East-West preview and then award. So just to kind of give you all an idea of what to look out for there. So let's get started, I guess, with Ryan's favorite center in the league, Al Horford, Thunder and Sixer legend, NBA champion. Ryan, where would you put him?
Real quick before we get into it, I want to bring up a tweet that my friend Matt sent me. He was going through my old personal Twitter. So before I got my Ninja Band's Twitter account that most people know me from, I would just tweet about sports from my normal account. And I had some terrible takes on there, let me tell you. And there was one that he sent me, and it was right because I made my Twitter account the offseason of Sixers got Tobias Harris back after they extended him following the trade. And so before that, though, I was tweeting about Horford and Harris, and I was like, I really hope the Sixers get Horford if they don't get Harris. Little did I know they got both, and it ended up being terrible. So
yeah, dream off season for you back then, nightmare for you now.
But I think for Al Horford, I would give him probably a C tier.
Yeah, I feel like C is a good spot for Al Horford for the moment. He is getting up there in age. He showed it at points throughout last season, but he is still like a pretty solid shooter from the big man spot. Plays some solid defense. He still gives nightmares to opposing bigs. Specifically, I know he's at Embiid's number for a while, although Embiid gets the best of him other times too, which people don't really talk about. But yeah, Horford's just really solid. I do think there's a chance for a bit of regression this season because he is, I think, going to be 39 years old going into the season. 38, he'll be 39 right after the season ends. So not quite going to be there during this year, but Horford's getting up there in age. The fact that he's still this effective at this old is kind of crazy. So shout out to Al Horford for that. But I feel good about C. And last thing we do need to say, list is subject to change all the way until the end of the video. Like, just because you see someone, like, say right now we ranked Embiid as an F because, yeah, that's probably where he should end up. Like, he might move up to S because Ryan, threatens me by the end of the video. So just let you know. All right. Anthony Davis is the guy up next. And this is where we're going to have like an interesting thing to think about because I feel like we can both agree. Maybe we should just go ahead and get them out of the way real quick.
Put Embiid and Jokic in S tier. We don't need to talk about them. Everyone talks about them 1A, 1B.
Yeah, so Embiid and Jokic are the best two centers in the league, whatever order you want to put them in. I think most people would have Jokic first. I would have Jokic. I still think Jokic is the best player in the world right now. So, although I will say, I think Embiid has gotten underrated by people. I feel like people go too hard at him for some of the stuff that's happened. He's been, I mean, if you want to talk about the injuries, that is definitely a concern with him. And that's one of my biggest knocks on Embiid at this point. But I feel like people forget that he was on pace to maybe have a unanimous MVP level season before he got hurt. He was putting up 36 points per game on just unbelievable efficiency. One of the most efficient 30-point per game seasons ever. I think it was the most efficient. Never mind like 35 plus, 36 plus points per game. Embiid was taking over. So if you want to knock him for the injuries and the playoff stuff, sure. Although I think playoff performance is also somewhat team-based. You can go ahead and do that. Jokic, of course, is an NBA champion now. He's a multi-time MVP, just won the MVP this past season. They're the best two centers in the league. They're both top 5 players in the sport. There's really no debate about that if you ask me. The question is, do we put Anthony Davis also in S tier, or is he A tier instead? Because these guys are kind of 1A, 1B.
So hear me out.
Okay.
I'm going S, and this is going to go back to when we did our point guard video. Because remember, we had that Kyrie Irving conversation. I think because we ended up putting it was either point guard or shooting guard, but we had Kyrie Irving in that S tier. And even though he was slightly not as good as the other guys in S tier, he was closer to the guys in S tier than the guys we had in A tier. And I really don't think there's anyone at center that's going to. I think that it's closer for Anthony Davis to Jokic and Embiid than it is from who's going to be like 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so,
I do feel like S tier is almost like the 3 or 4 best players at the position.
yeah.
AD was unbelievable this past season. He's one of the best defenders on the planet. He's a monster in the interior. AD is a game changer out there. And I do believe, like kind of like you said there, I mean, he is a top 10 player if you ask me. So it's hard to put that guy in an A tier, even though Embiid and Jokic are kind of 1A, 1B. Like those are the 2 best centers in the league. It's, again, kind of similar with the point guard tier list. I think most people would agree that Luka and Shea are the 2 best point guards in the league right now. More people would say Luka than Shea, kind of similar to how more people would say Jokic than Embiid. But like, just because most people kind of have a consensus who's better because they're in the same tier. And we put like Steph Curry in there as well. I think we had one more point guard in that tier. I can't remember who it was at this moment. Jalen Brunson, I think we had an S tier as well, which also goes back to that conversation. So if you have problems with it, you can let us know, but we're going to move on with that. Andre Drummond is up next. I'm thinking a D, probably.
I'm thinking D also, just because I think Horford's game's a little bit more well-rounded, even though Drummond's really good at one thing, which is getting rebounds and being an interior presence. But I feel like a lot of these DNFs are just going to be centers that are just like okay at one thing and not great at anything else. Horford's a little bit more well-rounded. I think it can actually stick with certain lineups, whereas Drummond's going to be more of like a plug-and-play type of guy. And there's a reason why he's a backup. I'm super happy to have him in Philly, don't get me wrong. But definitely I think a D tier.
Yeah, he's a really solid backup. You wouldn't want him to be starting for your team, and he's kind
at
of
least long term. He could be a good backup for like a short term injury. You know what I mean? Like some teams would kill to have him in there for like 2 weeks when your good center was out. But
yeah, shout out to Drummond though. He had a really good season this year, kind of bounced back. Steven Adams is up next. I think I would also, if this was Steven Adams like pre-injury, I would probably put him around C. I think I'm going to put him in D though. It just feels like the injuries are going to take a bit away from him. He's not really a shooter. He's an amazing screener, which is a super underrated aspect of big men. I feel like nowadays he was massive to everything the Grizzlies did with his, the dribble handoffs he would run with Ja, pick and rolls, just being that big body guy. I don't know how much we're going to see that in Houston this year. I'm interested to see.
We haven't even seen him play for them yet.
Exactly, because he didn't play at all last season. I honestly thought about not even putting him on this tier list because I don't really know where he's going to be. But he has a game that I don't think is going to change that much. Like I don't think we had Lonzo on the point guard tier list because we haven't seen him play in like a couple of years. But with Adams, I feel like we have an idea of what he's going to do. He'll be fine, but at this point, I think it's probably a D tier for him right now.
Probably just a good backup, also.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert, I feel like it's our first A.
Yeah, I just think he's such an elite defender, and the offense is still kind of mediocre, but he can rebound and he can score on the inside when needed. So
I think apparently hit a turnaround fadeaway jumper against the Nuggets in Game 7 as well.
The crazy defense and rebounding, along with like not the worst offense in the world, I think is pretty good for an A tier, and that's what keeps him out of the S tier. Is the fact that the guys in S tier are just elite at pretty much everything. And then Gobert is kind of a little bit more one-sided than that, but he's one-sided and is so good that
he's one of the best rim protectors ever. He is another player. I feel like there's a lot of bigs on here that kind of get underrated by a lot of people. Gobert is really, really good. There are limitations, like big ones on the offensive end, but just defensively, if you have him on your team, you're like a guaranteed top 5 defense, and it's not even a debate at that point, which I think should be worth a lot more than people give it credit for. People just take highlights of him getting cooked on the perimeter and say, oh, he can't guard anybody. He's not actually that great of a defender. The reason they have to go out there on the perimeter is because they can't go inside because Gobert is going to cause problems. Mason Plumlee.
D. Another D.
I'm almost tempted to say F. I think I'll go D. I think it's fine. D's kind of like, oh, he's like a decent backup.
He's solid backup.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where we're at this point. I don't know. I think it's an improvement over Drew Eubanks for the Suns as their backup big this season, but it's not going to do much. We don't need to spend long on Mason Plumlee. Porzingis.
I'm saying A.
I think A as well. He was so good for Boston this season. I think people didn't quite get to realize how good he was at some point, specifically because he was hurt for a lot of the playoffs. But he was ridiculous this season. He had a great year last season for the Wizards as well, leading into this year when he was traded for. Everyone was like, oh, this will be like a good move. But I don't think people realized how special it would be for Boston because they didn't watch Porzingis with the Wizards the year prior, which if you didn't, I don't blame you at all. But yeah, Porzingis is really good, great defensively. Of course, knockdown shooter, lob threat, everything you could basically want in a modern big. Bam Adebayo, I think another A.
Yeah, another guy who's just super well rounded. We saw him get a little bit more funky with the offense last year.
Thank God he started shooting threes towards the end of the season. Please free Bam Adebayo and let this man shoot threes.
But Bam, he's not the 7-foot center that a lot of these guys are, but he can just pretty much guard 1 through 5. His defensive versatility is absolutely insane. His offense is going to, I think, only get better as soon as he gets unleashed. And he's just an all-around player. And he's another guy which I think can get very underrated at times.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, he's really good. Like this past season, let me read off the stats because I don't think people realize how good he was this past season.
He can play make a little bit too. I think that gets underrated too.
Yeah. I mean, he shot 35.7% from deep. Like that was really solid. Put up right around 20 points per game, just under it, which he typically does right around that. 52% from the field, 10.4 rebounds, which is a career high for him, 3.9 dimes. Like Bam does a little bit of everything. He's one of the best defenders. I feel like it's only a matter of time until he gets that depoy. And if for some reason Bam never wins a Defensive Player of the Year, we're going to look back and be like, how did Bam Adebayo not
because he played at the same time as Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, kind of that. And now it's like Rudy Gobert's kind of on the decline. And now Vic's in town and, Chet's popping up too. And it feels like AD can still get one.
The shameless one, the Chet. I get it.
Oh, I had to I had to mention the Thunder player.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Okay. Zach Collins.
Probably D or F.
Yeah, I think I'd go
maybe D. He can shoot a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. This past season was rough. What was it? 32%. Yeah, not a great season shooting for him. Zach Collins is like fine. It's the same thing. He's like a fine backup big, I feel like, at this point. Nothing crazy. Miles Turner, I feel like, is a B.
I was going to go. I think he's our first B tier too. Like still very solid. Pretty good offensive. Like he's a pretty good shooter. I think some people don't really give him credit for that. And, he was in Defensive Player of the Year conversations for a while. Like a lot of people were saying that Miles Turner's defense kind of gets underrated, but I just think that a lot of people are better. But I think he is still pretty solid down there.
Yeah, he's a really solid shot blocker. He gives them a lot of pop offensively, like you said. He's able to stretch the floor, which is great. The rebounding's never been great for a center. Like 6.9 rebounds per game isn't anything crazy, but he does a lot for that Pacers offense, and he was really good this past season. It felt like they had a chance to get it. Like if that offense kept cooking the way it was, and if I remember correctly, he started the season a lot better than he finished the year with Tyrese Halliburton. I combined his first and last name. Getting injured, it felt like his production dropped a little bit, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it looks like a lot of his highest scoring games were kind of more towards the first half of the season. But he was going berserk at one point. We were like, could he be an all-star? Like, is there a possibility? Didn't end up getting there. I don't think he's ever going to quite get to that point. But if you want to talk about a non-all-star level, like prototypical big in the modern NBA, Miles Turner is kind of what you want.
Can defend, shoot the three. Like Connor said, I think if he could rebound at an elite rate, I think he would actually probably be an A-tier player because of the way he can, stretch the floor and play defense. But he's just kind of missing that rebounding. And And one thing I was wondering is I thought that maybe that would go up with Domantas Sabonis leaving because I thought maybe the two of them playing together, maybe kind of, because Sabonis is really big on the glass, but I guess it's just not really part of Miles Turner's game. But it is, I do feel like his game has gotten a little bit better to where he doesn't have Sabonis next to him, just
Yeah,
because he
I'm glad they've kind of. I'm glad they broke that duo up. It always felt very clunky with the two of them there. And I think Siakam's a much better fit in that front court next to Miles Turner. I'm excited to see what they can do in a full season. Hopefully Tyrese is kind of back to his in-season tournament like before in-season tournament self. And if that's the case, then this is going to be a monster season for the Pacers. Saric, maybe D, maybe F.
D or F, I don't care. You can pick.
Let me double check with I kind of want to go.
All right, so hear me out. I don't want to get weird about the D and F tier, but if I had to choose between like Drummond and Adams as my backup or Dario, it's not even close.
I think I'm moving Dario to the F for right now. Like the problem was towards the end of the season for the Warriors, he was like up and down in the rotation, and it was a team that wasn't very good in the first place. The shooting was kind of up and down throughout the season. I don't know. Like Dario doesn't really move me that much. Honestly, it would move me more as I feel like a 4 nowadays than a 5. But it seems to be the way the Warriors, the Warriors used him, and now the Nuggets are going to use him. I don't know. I don't love it. I think he's an upgrade at the backup big spot for the Nuggets because last year was like Zeke Naji and DeAndre Jordan, and small ball a lot of times. But it's not a big needle move or anything.
I almost want to move Plumlee and Collins down to F as well because I'm thinking like Drummond and Adams. I feel like I'm so much rather have. I'm trying to think who I would want as my backup center.
We can discuss it. We'll leave it for now and kind of see. I was
thinking like the Sixers signed Drummond, and I was kind of hyped. And then if they signed Mason Plumlee, I would have been kind of pissed. So that's kind of how I'm trying to think about it.
That's fair. I just went ahead and put Mo Bamba in the F tier. He's
falling off. The song might be enough to bring him up to D tier, but other than that,
honestly, that was kind of the career highlight was the song. He's just not very good. And he shot well, but he has bad hands for a big man. The defense isn't anything crazy. Yeah, it feels like he's kind of on the way out of the league, which sucks because he's a fun player when he has those big games.
Is he on the team right now?
He's on the Clippers, yeah.
Okay.
He was one of the Clippers signings to try and replace Paul George. So we'll see how it goes. Kevon Looney, it was a bad year for Looney.
I think if this was last year, I think I would have put him in the C tier just because he really anchored the defense. He didn't really put up stats, but he was kind of like almost like that Draymond role, but as a center, just a good glue guy. But I think because of how he comes in this year, I think D tier. But it also could be I think it also could be an effect of I think he was a good center for that Warriors system that they had. And the fact that they're kind of like tapering off of like their old ways kind of maybe had him go with them.
Yeah, like his stats last year, he only played 16 minutes per game. I know there were a lot of games where he was like barely getting in there. You had 4.5 points, 5.7 rebounds. It's just like it's not a lot from Kevon Looney at this point, and he's 28. Like it's almost like he's older than it feels like.
If you'd asked me, I would have said 30.
Yeah, so I don't know. Kevon Looney just feels like it's been a bit of a decline. Like you said, it feels like they've tried to change up the system a little bit. They went to Trace Jackson Davis a lot more. They went to Draymond Green at the small ball 5 just to create some more shooting, some more spacing. And obviously Looney doesn't really have that. I still think he's a fine player and he's impactful beyond the stats, but yeah, it's not a ton nowadays. Brandon Clark, I feel like also kind of goes there. Clark's really good though. I like his game a lot. He came off of injury last season, and it seems like I mentioned at the beginning of the pod, he's going to be the only center we have on here for the Grizzlies because he's going to play some of that backup 5 for them with Zach Edey likely starting. But I think he's going to be an important part of the rotation, and he didn't have the best year last year when he came back. Like it was 11.3 points, 5.3 rebounds, 1.5 dimes, now given it was only 6 games. And I guess those are almost like close to career highs, or the points are at least. But I
think he's going to be more of a speaker when it's all said and done.
There's a chance for it. I'm interested to see what he looks like in a full season coming off the injury with John Morant back, because I feel like that's a player that also is going to open up the game a lot more for him. So yeah, Clark, I'm like kind of tempted to put up here in C, but we can leave it for a moment because there's a guy like Ayton who I think I also want to like put in C. I think. Do
you think he's worse than Turner? I was between B and C. What's your rationale for not being on the same tier as Turner?
Just like I don't know. I'm thinking about like because Ayton is just so. I almost feel like the idea of Ayton is better than the player himself.
No, that's honestly such a good way of putting it.
Like last season, it was 16.7 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, 1.6 assists. And it felt like with everybody hurt throughout the season and all this
He
stuff
should be
going
putting up
on,
monster numbers, you would think, right? Because that's
it felt like that should have been a monster season for him, and it just wasn't there. That's the big thing, is like the motor is just, it feels like there are some nights he just doesn't care at all. And he has a lot of talent. He's able to knock down some like mid-range jumpers and stuff, but I don't know. I don't think he makes that big of an impact on a lot of nights. It feels like a lot of the numbers, and I'm not a big person in like empty stats. I hate that term. I think it's bad. And a lot of times it's just trying to tear down players who are on bad teams just by circumstance. But I don't know, man. Ayton, like, I would definitely rather have Miles Turner than DeAndre Ayton, which I want to go out there and say, by the way, Pacers were saved by the fact that the Suns matched that offer that they threw at Ayton like a couple years ago. That was huge. So,
because then Miles Turner probably isn't there, and then
or even if he's there, it's like now you have Ayton, and what do you do with him? Like,
no, Turner would have traded him. If you give that money to Ayton, Turner would have been traded. I think there's no way.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Ayton, like, I just feel like I'd much rather have Miles Turner. Well, we can come back to it. We can come back to it. We'll see who else could go on B tier, because I do kind of looking at the list. I do feel like B tier could be a bit barren, but we'll discuss that. Daniel Tice, I'm gonna throw an F tier at this point. He's just not very good. Sorry, Daniel Tice fan club out there. The fact that he's the only center I have in here for the Pelicans is nuts. Because it's him, it's Eve Messi, who's a rookie, who, again, we're not going to put on here. And then it's Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. And maybe they do some small ball Zion at the 5.
I think they're going to run a lot of Zion 5, I think.
It's that, like, I don't know how I feel about that, though, because he's 6'6". So it's like, you know, he's got that size. And I do think that could create some ridiculous offense if it's him out there with, like, it's CJ, DeJounte, Herb, Trey Murphy, and Zion at the 5. I think you could do some crazy.
Didn't even name Ingram.
Yeah, my brain, I think, has just realized that Brandon Ingram thinks that Brandon Ingram should be gone by this point. It's so weird that they're going into the season seemingly with just the way the team is constructed. I thought there was going to be another move following the DeJounte one. But yeah, so I feel like you take Herb out of that lineup theoretically if you want to improve the shooting, but no, because you need the defense if Zion's going to be at your 5. So I think you do like DeJounte, maybe it's like DeJounte, Herb, Trey Murphy, Ingram, and Zion. Like,
that's kind of a fire lineup. I'm not gonna lie.
Up there, like, I guess if you want a little bit more shot creation and spacing, you could throw CJ in there. They do have some fun versatility over there in New Orleans. I just absolutely hate how their center position is set up right now. I think it's terrible. So I don't know. I was hoping they would make a move.
They're making another move. There's no way.
I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to go into it like this. They're one of the teams that I feel like around December, I believe it's usually December 15th, when you can trade players that you just picked up in free agency, and like the trade market really opens up. I think December 15th, like almost right on the dot, we're going to see a Pelican center trade because they have to do something. Sabonis, I think pretty clear A, joining these other all-star caliber bigs up here. These are just kind of like the all-star bigs that are like just below like the big 3. I don't think anybody else is getting up to that tier. Although there's one guy we do need to talk about that I think is going to be interesting.
Wait, hold on. Scroll. Oh, yeah. I think he's but I see what you mean.
Yeah, we'll discuss him in a moment. But
I can only see his forehead currently, so I wasn't sure who you were talking about.
Oh, you can only see it. Oh, wait, who are you talking about?
Oh, shoot, that's another Spur. I saw the Spur. The bottom left.
Oh, not Spur. Net. Same jersey. It's basically same jersey.
Oh, yeah. But just disregard me. That's Nick Claxton. I don't know why I thought that was Wemby. Disregard.
You can only see his eyebrows, basically.
Disregard.
Okay, so I mean, I guess do we want to just go ahead and talk about Wemby then while we're in the conversation?
I think Wemby's in the A tier. I think we need it. I think one more. I think by the end of this year, he's an S tier player. But I think we just need one more year. He's right there though with the elite guys, though. I think just all around monster on everything. We just need to see one more year.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't think I want to put him up quite with like these 3 top 10 guys quite yet, but Wemby is unbelievable, man.
He's got
the stuff he was doing at the end of the season
with the offensive Porzingis, basically.
Yeah. The big thing for him is he needs, like, the shot needs to be the 3-point shot. I'm curious to see how it comes along this year. I'm excited to see how it looks with Chris Paul, because a lot of times it was like off the dribble.
I think we're going to see a playmaker with Wemby, and he's just the Wemby stock's going to go crazy.
My somewhat bold prediction that I don't even know if I'm like officially predicting it, Chris Paul leading the league in assists.
I know you texted me about that. I remember. As long as he stays on the court, I see it.
Yeah. like whether it's official or not because he plays enough games is another thing. But like Chris Paul averaging 10 plus assists does not feel possible at all playing alongside Wemby. So let's see. Up next is Naz Reid.
I think it's B.
I was gonna say like Naz is a guy I want to put in B. I would take Naz over DeAndre Ayton. I think.
Oh, 100%.
Naz is great, like the best backup big in the NBA, or in that conversation. We'll talk about a Thunder guy in a moment. But I mean, like literally coming off the season, he was the best backup in the league. He won Sixth Man of the Year. Naz is fantastic. He almost plays like a guard sometimes compared to a big. Like he handles the ball, he shoots it, attacks off the dribble. It's so much fun to watch Naz Reid. Those games where Naz Reid starts popping off are special.
And I really liked him in college too, because I remember I watched him on LSU, you know, back in March Madness, and I was like, how? And then I saw he went undrafted, and I was just so hyped when he got picked up. I was like, how in the world does this man not get picked up?
That was crazy because it feels like the typical big you would be looking for in the modern NBA, where
especially like a second round, especially like a second round pick. Like I can't believe it.
Yeah, just like a shot on a guy. There are some like there are some times where a second round pick their agent will be like, don't draft me. Like there's a team we kind of want to go to. So maybe it was one of those situations. Yeah. I don't remember the logistics.
Yeah, was it Minnesota he's always been with? He wasn't with
anyone else there. Yeah, I don't think he was ever with
anyone. They hit the jackpot on that one. And it's just crazy where you have Gobert and Towns, and you also have this guy off the bench. You could, if Towns is on this list, you could argue they have 2 A tier and a B tier center. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely insane.
Craziest, like the best big rotation in the league. Clint Capella. Yeah.
Was that C or D? I was thinking C or D, but what we got for that last year?
11.5 points per game, 10.6 rebounds. Like he's a double-double, I guess, 1.2 assists. But man, Clint Capella does not move me at all. I swear I've seen this man miss 1,000 layups just in the last like 15 games he's played. Hear
me out. I think he should be in the D tier because if you put Drummond and gave him the same amount of minutes, Drummond's stats would look way better.
Or be similar at the least. I don't know if I'm being too harsh. I think I'm one of Clint Capella's number one haters. And it's not because I hate him. It's just because it feels like he could still be so much better, but he's falling off a cliff. I could put him D for right now. Well, we can come back to that as well. I feel like this section, like the CD section, we might have to make some maneuvers. We'll see.
Yeah.
Gafford, I was going to say C.
Yeah, I think C is good for him. I like that.
That's pretty good. Gafford was great. A revelation
all around solid.
Dallas this season. You know, attack fights on the boards, got them some extra possessions, fun guy down low defensively. Yeah, Gafford's good. Goga Batadze.
I was between C or D because honestly, I used to have him as kind of like a D or F type of player, but he had some good minutes for the Magic last year.
Yeah, I just don't think he played enough in that role for me to put him anywhere above D. But like Goga was really good last season when they played him. Didn't play a ton of minutes, just 15. But I feel like if he got more opportunity, he would be more.
My question is, are you able to pull up his stats when he was like starting? Because he was getting like, I think 20 plus minutes a game for like a stretch, and he had pretty good stats.
Yeah, when Wendell Carter was hurt. I can pull up his stats as a starter, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Because I think they were actually pretty solid.
Yeah, Goga Batadze stats.
Not to be the random Goga fan out here, but.
All right, as a starter in 2024, please. Is giving me his Pacer stats. As a starter, he put up, let me do averages as a starter because it's just giving me his points, rebounds, and assists. I want everything.
Who the heck would want total NBA stats?
Oh, man. StatMuse messing me up. 33 games as a starter, 7.3 points. Or sorry, that's rebounds. 7.5 points, 7.3 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.7 blocks, shot about 59, 60% from the field. So pretty good.
Not terrible. But yeah, I think D tier is probably appropriate. But he definitely, I think, kind of carved out a role for himself in the NBA. Because I don't want to say he was out of the league, but he just looked really bad on the Pacers, and they gave up on him pretty quickly. And that's kind of cool. He kind of found a role with the Magic. So good for him.
Yeah, Gogo's fun. Hartenstein, I feel like B. Yeah, I think B is a good spot. Shout out to the newest Thunder legend. Hart was nuts for the Knicks last season when Mitchell Robinson went down. He was really, really good. Huge part of their playoff run.
The
has
hook,
shown
man,
it.
the Hartenstein hook, dude. The amount of times I saw that against Philly.
The little push shot he loves to go to, man.
Push. I call it the Hartenstein hook, but yeah, it's a little more of a little push shot. But it's still, man, oh my god, it went in every freaking time.
He doesn't miss those. He does not miss those. You're right.
Good rebounder, great energy. This is gonna be fun to have him on your team. I feel like he's literally the perfect player for what you guys were lacking last year. So
yeah, there was a reason he was my dream offseason pickup for this team. Like amongst realistic guys, obviously, it'd be cool to get a superstar, but he was
like hard shot over over Gobert. Or
yeah, exactly.
Over Wemby. If
I actually, my personal tier list would have him up there, but we'll let it slide for right now. Onyeka Okongwu, I think, is also
another D, bro.
A D.
Like everyone was just like, so because here's the thing. Everyone wanted Okongwu to be freed because he was playing behind Clint Capella. And then Capella started falling off. So we're like, all right, we'll give Okongwu the run. And then he's just as bad. It's like, dang, man. We just want him to be freed.
He's just not. I don't even think he's like that. I mean, he's only 23. I
just don't think he's very good at anything. He's just like, all right.
25.5 minutes, 10.2 points, 6.8 rebounds, 1.3 assists. The big thing is I wish he would be a little bit more better offensively. Like I thought his offense was going to be a bit more diverse and open the game up. And it's just still not quite there yet. He's not there the level defensively you want him to be quite yet. Yeah, I don't know, man. We have a lot of centers in this D tier. But one guy who we could put in the C tier, I feel like Wendell Carter.
Yeah, I think that's solid. He's pretty good.
Yeah, Wendell is someone who can stretch the floor. He can, has some pretty solid playmaking chops here and there. Doesn't have the ball in his hands a lot. Pretty solid defensively at times. Yeah, I feel like Wendell is just decent.
I think
I was gonna say Zubats. I think also is another C. Who was Patrick Beverly? I think ranked Zubats as a top 5 center in the NBA in his opinion. Which of course he's gonna say that.
I'm just looking at this list now. I can't even think about.
Yeah, I don't even know where he would rank for me, but it's not top 5. I mean, right now we have him as top.
Now, hear me out. If Zubac played 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's the top 5 big if he played.
Because, he's really good down low, has some great size, good screener. But in today's NBA, bro, you got to be able to get buckets too at center. So
yeah, you did have that 130-30 game that one time. That was nuts. That was a good time. Let's see who is next. It is Şengün. Feels like a B again. I think
I was going to go B as well.
It's tough. He almost feels like a B plus in a way. The big knock is his defense is still really rough. It's a big work in progress, but offensively he has some great flashes. Playmaking, it's there. Definitely want to see the outside shot generate a little bit more because it's not quite to the level you want it to be yet. If people call him like baby Jokic and stuff, he's never going to be anywhere close to Jokic if he can't knock down threes at a consistent rate. That's a huge part of being, a baby Jokic. If anything, he feels more like a baby Sabonis right now, where it's like, he's not going to do a ton for you defensively. He can grab some nice boards. He's got some good post moves, can kind of bully guys down low, some playmaking. But I think the offense needs to come along. And if he is going to be the center for this team, some Rockets fans think he can eventually be the best player on the team when they compete for championships. I don't think he's ever going to get quite there, but he's going to have to improve defensively. And I mean, he's gotten better over time, but it's going to have to definitely come along. But all that to say, Şengün is really good. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does this upcoming season with more growth from the Rockets' young core. I feel like if Jalen Green kind of carries over a lot of what he did last season, if you get some good play from Ahmad Thompson and Reed Shepherd, like these young guys, if they all progress, it's only going to help Şengün, even if the numbers don't quite reflect it. Just the effectiveness will be there. So, Vucevic. I want to put Vucevic in D tier, I think.
You really think so?
I guess.
I think he's still got some well-roundedness to his game. He's not great.
Oh my, bro, he's so bad. Vucevic is one of those players. If I'm a hater for a player, it might be Vucevic, bro.
I think he's still a C, man.
Fine, I guess. It's just he put up 18 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists.
You can't put a guy who averages an 18 and 10. I know the stat. Here's your empty stats thing going, but.
The thing is, he's just
a guy who averaged almost 20-10 in D tier.
He is a big that is supposed to be like, he's not this great defender, but at least he shoots a little bit. Bro, he shot 29.4% from deep and 48% as a big man. As a center, he shot like that. It's bad, man. Vucevic is washed. Yeah,
I think it's part of it is being on a trash team too. I think if he was a system player on a really good team, I think he could still be okay. I personally.
All right, I'll give you that. Whatever.
I just think he stays in C tier just because he kind of has like a lot of he can do on offense.
You're right. I got too in my hater bag. You're right.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson. That's fair. Mitchell Robinson, I think C as well.
I agree with that.
Really good defender when he's out there. A good lob threat. Doesn't do a lot offensively when it comes to anything beyond like right around the basket. But he's an amazing offensive rebounder. The numbers don't show a ton for him, but I feel like it's also, one of those things where he just doesn't. He's not a big stat sheet guy. Really, neither of the Knicks centers were. Like Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, if you look at the numbers, they have worse numbers than a lot of guys that are in the same tiers as. But it's like the impact, that role they play with the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson could have an amazing year this season. It's just a matter of if he can actually stay on the court.
Yeah, and he's going to have to because without Hartenstein there, I think Mitchell Robinson gets even bigger of a role because last year was like, oh, Robinson gets 2 early fouls and we got this guy Hartenstein on the bench. We can just roll right out there and be just as good, if not better. And now if Hartenstein, and now that you don't have Hartenstein, you put Robinson out there, he gets 2 quick fouls. You're putting out Jericho Sims, man, or Obi Toppin's younger brother.
Precious Achua is there. Yeah. We'll see if he's any better this season.
It's still there. And Precious, I know we're kind of talking trash on him, but he actually had a pretty solid end of the year for them last year. I think he did okay.
Yeah. I realize he's one guy I guess I could have put on here, but
he'd be another D tier. I mean, come
on. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, also goes in D. One of the probably better D tier players, if you ask me. He was fun this past year. Just young, didn't do anything insane this past season with the Warriors. It was like 8 points, 5 rebounds, shot 70% from the field, which was really good. And, it was kind of in limited minutes, depending on the night. He started to start towards the end of the season, and the more run they gave him, the better they played. So shout out to him for doing that. But yeah, nothing too crazy, I think, to move him beyond D tier. Nick Claxton is up next. What'd you say?
I think he's B.
I'm between B and C, mainly because he's almost like a more offensively involved version of Mitchell Robinson, but the offense is still pretty rough for Claxton sometimes.
What are the stats?
Let me find you the stats.
I just think his defense is a lot closer to some of those guys we have in A and B because of their defense.
It was 11.8, 9.9, and 2.1 while shooting 63% from the field in 29.8 minutes for Claxton. Like the defense is really good, but I feel like Mitchell Robinson kind of does the same thing, even though the numbers are a bit worse. I don't think he's not on the level. I would much rather take Hartenstein, Naz Reid, Miles Turner, or Şengün, I think, over Nick Claxton.
Okay, I'm with it.
Okay. But Claxton. Also, these tiers aren't in order, by the way. I just place players in random spots. Brook Lopez, I think, feels like another C. I think he's probably towards the top of C tier. Like Brook is still really good. I
don't think he looked as good last year. There were times where
he definitely did
much better team with Bobby Portis on the court. It felt like,
he definitely did not look as good last season as he did in 2023 or any of the prior years with the Bucks. It felt like it was not his best season. He still is a huge part of what they do. Like they need him to be healthy and effective if they want to compete for anything. I do also worry, like he was able to stay on the court a lot the past 2 years, 78, 79 games. It almost feels like he's due. I'm knock on wood. I don't want this to happen, but it feels like he's due to
Lopez season-ending injury.
No, I'm not saying season-ending, but I feel like when he's 38 years old now, not 38, sorry, 36. I think he turns 37 this season now. But it just feels like at some point he's going to have to miss some game. Yeah, he'll turn 37 in April. He's going to probably miss some games here and there. And I just worry at being this old in the NBA, if he has a couple of those minor injuries, those small bang ups, it's going to take him out of the lineup a lot longer. So hopefully that's not the case. Robert Williams. If we're talking,
man, I was such a big Rob fan when they made that trade. I was almost like mad that they had Ayton also because I kind of wanted Rob just to be freed, but we didn't really get to see anything.
If we're talking like healthy Robert Williams, I think C. I'm trying to think of. I mean, he's played 41 games the past 2 years, like combined.
Yeah,
he only played 6 games last season. It was 7 points per game, 6.3. I think that we have to put him in D right now.
But I do think he can move up to C if he's healthy. I really liked him at the end of his Celtics tenure.
I mean, in 2022, he should have been the defensive player of the year before he got hurt at the end of the season, and then they gave it to Marcus Smart. He was the D-boy. He is insane. I just don't know if I can ever trust him to stay on the court. And we try not to account for injuries too much on this tier list, but he's like the guy where it's like he's probably not going to be out there very often. Yusuf Nurkic is up next. I feel like another C.
Yeah.
Is in order for Nurkic. I remember you and I were big fans of Nurkic that 1 year where he like really started popping off.
Was that right before the leg injury, right?
Yeah, it was right before the leg injury. That kind of derailed.
Crazy stat. I swear, didn't he have like a 20-20-10 game or something? Like, I swear he had some insane stat lines.
Yeah, it was he had a 5x5.
Did he? I just remember he was putting up the most insane stat lines, and then the leg injury happened, and like I really didn't hate him going to the Suns at first. It wasn't really like, I don't know. We have him on the same tier as Ayton, so clearly based on the tier list, we didn't think they downgraded. But like, he's just all right. He's kind of, I think he's in that same conversation as we talked about with Vucevic, where he's just kind of like used to be like on that all-star tier. Now he's just kind of there, like fizzling out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him being the center for this team. I didn't love the trade when it happened. I mean, not that Ayton's that great anyways, but
they need a more defensive-minded center for the Suns, in my opinion. If you could get one of these like defensive-first centers on the Suns, because they're all pretty much offense in the starting lineup otherwise, I think they'd be way better off. But
and I wish they could someone get like a Nick Claxton. That'd be fire.
Yeah.
We got back-to-back Pistons, Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. Duren's tough. He's a player where the problem is Jalen Duren feels like he should be really good at defense, and he's not good at defense.
Yeah, I agree. You see him and you're like, how the heck am I going to score on the inside against this man?
Yeah, like he's just this imposing athlete. He has crazy verticality. Like he gets some fun shot blocking done every now and again, but it's just not. It's also hard to tell because he's just on a bad team, and like you do feel like he would have more than 0.8 blocks per game as a like what is he 6'10"? Yeah, 6'10" guy.
What are the average offensively last year?
11.4 points per game, 10.2 rebounds. He was sitting at 62% from the field. Didn't hit any threes. 79% from the free throw line, 29 minutes. I think I'd probably put him in D right now.
Yeah.
He's not going to give the same impact as the guys above him. Duren is one of those players that if we're projecting, I think could have a much better season.
Yeah, if we're projecting, I think he's one of the C guy.
Yeah, but I don't think I could put him.
I think Stewart's probably there with them too.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Stewart's kind of the same case. We'll just put the Pistons bigs together.
Yeah.
Derek Lively, I think
that's a C. I think
I'd probably go C as well. Lively was great last season.
The rebounding, the energy, doing it in the playoffs, which I think is really cool as a rookie. I really like his potential. I really like the draft pick, and I'm really glad that they gave him kind of an extended role at the end. Him and Gafford together was so refreshing after watching frickin' Dwight Powell be their center for so long.
It was just like nonstop.
To see Luka with actual centers who could roll to the basket and dunk and set up plays. It was beautiful.
Yeah, he was a big reason why the Mavs were able to unlock the team last year. Him and then Gafford coming in behind him, or even just sometimes starting over him, I believe.
Yeah, they're back and forth. It was just depending, really. It was really hot hand.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm not tripping for a second. Okay, yeah, no, he did start 21 games. For some reason, I was like, no, he definitely started a majority of his Dallas games, and there was a part where I was like, is that right? Because Lively was just better throughout the playoffs, so I was having a bit of a moment. Anyways, Lively's really good. He's gonna have a good season this upcoming year. He's kind of like the big that they've wanted over there in Dallas. Down to a couple more. Bobby Portis, I feel like also kind of a C.
I think a C as well. Yeah.
But Portis is really solid.
He's not really that big defensively guy, but he's just good on all. He's just good offensive, good six man.
Let's see, and then we have last up Jared Allen. I'm gonna just.
I think B as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll just pop him down B for a moment while we figure it out, but I do think B might be the spot.
That was gonna be my pick for him. I just think he's just a step above. You know what you're getting with him, and I think he's just a step above those guys in C.
It's tough because Allen just had an amazing season. I just don't know if I quite have him on. Like the A tier guys are the A tier guys.
Yeah.
Like Allen's really, really good. He had an amazing year.
I
agree. I think this is our tier list. How do you feel about stuff? Is there anything you're tempted to change?
Do we want to move any of those D guys to F? Because D tier is kind of popping.
D tier is pretty full.
I think some of those guys towards the top are a lot better. Like Mason Plumlee should not be in the same tier as Jalen Duren. I think he should move down.
Okay, we can move Plumlee.
I would personally move down Plumlee and Collins.
So you do something like this?
Just because I'm trying to look at the guys. Like, is there anyone in that tier that like?
I'm tempted to move Goga down too, just because we saw it in limited run, and then there were nights where he was like really not playing.
Yeah. Do you think Looney maybe too, based on his year last year?
I don't know. Looney's one of those guys. Okay, that's better now because it makes it easier for me to fit in the frame. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ryan. Yep. Look at you doing the producing. Yeah, I guess it was a bad year for Looney. But I don't know. I just can't tell because his minutes were just so down. There still is a part of me that's like, hey, you put Looney on like a really good team and he'd be super effective. And maybe we could put him like the top of F, I guess. I feel like we do need to shorten it up a little bit. But I feel like in general, looking at majority of these tiers, I feel good about them. I think S I feel great about. S through B I feel great about. Even down to C. I think with centers, it almost feels like.
I think we're going to get some people mad about Ayton in C tier. I'm going to call that now.
You think so?
I think so. I do agree, because I do think when we had Ayton at his best on the Suns, he's definitely more with those B tier guys. But it's kind of like you said, you put him on the Blazers, and you thought he was just going to be like, all right, I'm on a shit team now. A lot of injuries. Rob Williams, who was supposed to compete for my minutes, is gone. I should just break out, and it just didn't really feel like that.
Yeah, there hasn't. It was a perfect opportunity, especially with Rob Williams going down. It was like, oh, Ayton is like the center there now for them. Do something. And there were a lot of nights where I'm like, bro, do up Reith back out there and take Ayton off the court, bro. I'm not trying to see this man.
At least do up Reith out of motor.
Yeah, at least do up Reith is like putting in work out there. And there are some nights where it's like, oh, Ayton's looking really good. And then other nights where you're like, is he even playing? Is he out there tonight? Did they scratch him before the game? So yeah, I can't put him on the same level as Şengün and Turner and Naz Reid and like these guys who just do so much more for their team on the B tier than Ayton, who I feel like he just gives up halfway through plays sometimes. But yeah, this is our center tier list. I feel pretty good about this one.
Pretty cool with it.
Yeah, as always, there are a few things we might change if we stick around for a little bit longer, but we're going to end it now so we don't do that. Let us know down below what your least favorite pick is from this tier list. Is there anything you would change? What would your tier list look like? And let us know what type of stuff you want to see, because it sounds like we're going to have like 1 week left to fill for, it might be fun to do. Maybe we could do like a draft of some kind.
Oh, all right. What should we draft? I'm down to draft.
We could do like a team draft and like draft playoff teams.
Oh, we should draft all 30 teams and whoever has the most wins. Let's do that. That'll be our way we could do a whole NBA thing. We'll do a 30 team draft. We'll draft
so next week we'll do the 30 team draft, and whoever gets the most wins. Pretty easy.
I like that. That's fun. Let's do that.
And after that, we can do East and West preview on like 1 week is East, standings. 1 week is West. Yeah, we'll predict the full standings. And then we will do awards and our NBA Finals pick that Sunday, or I guess it'll come out on Monday, right before the season. Cool. All right. That's going to be our game plan. So let us know down below.
All right. He said a comment what to pick, and I just picked it. So sorry.
Yeah, Ryan messed up your whole thing.
Sorry, producer.
So comment down below nothing because Ryan stole it from you.
Comment Ryan for stealing our thunder.
Yeah, comment Ryan, I can't believe you would do this down below in the comments if you made it to this point in the video, the podcast.
I saw a fun comment idea. This is what we should do. So I was watching a different tier list for something else, and the guy was like, I want everyone to comment, how the heck did you put someone in F tier that should definitely not be in F tier? So then people who click off the video fast, they're like, everyone comment below, how could Wemby be an F tier if you made it to this point, because then people are going to see the video and be like, they put Wemby in F tier. What?
That's a good idea, y'all. Help us drive the algorithm up.
Yeah. So the ones who made it here, comment, and it doesn't have to be Wemby. It could be any player. Pick a player we put in like a high tier or a low tier and say how, and like pretend like you're complaining.
Yeah.
And then people who click off the video see the comment and they're just like,
they won't know unless they tune in.
I saw it. It was actually, all right, I'm going to really expose my dorkiness self. I was watching a Pokemon starters tier list.
Tier list.
And then the guy said, I think Chikorita's, if you're a Pokemon nerd, Chikorita's known as like one of the worst starters just because of the evolution line. And people were like, how could you put Chikorita in S tier? That's like what all the comments were, because people, he said that in the video. So I thought
random Pokemon thing while we're on this, if we're going to be nerding out. My friend Alam, shout out to Alam. He got these Pokemon like postcards. It looks like they're from different spots in Pokemon. Yeah. So he just sent them to people. So he sent me this one. It says "Greetings from Mount Moon" with a picture of it, and on the back it's got. I'm not gonna turn it over because it has my address on it. But
fucking dox yourself.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dox myself. But on the back it's got like a note and stuff. So it was really cool. So shout out to Alam for sending me that. Yeah, I think that's everything we have for right now. We're gonna go watch the rest of Sunday Night Football. And for y'all out there, appreciate y'all tuning in. As I said at the beginning, leave a like and subscribe if you made it to the end. Rate 5 stars, download on Spotify, all that stuff. and we'll see y'all come up here for a lot of predictions. We got a lot of things to talk about. The season is getting close. We're almost there. And along with those predictions, like we can talk preseason because that will be in full swing in a couple of weeks here too. We're getting close, y'all. We're almost through the end of this horrifically boring end of the offseason. And yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see y'all later. Peace.